Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. So many things that I wanna say. You know I like my girls a little bit older. I just wanna use your love tonight. I don't wanna lose your love tonight.
This morning, I ate a quick breakfast of nuts and cheese, packed the tent and prepped the bag. I was heading into Kvareli. It's the heart of Georgia's wine country, right at the foot of the Caucasus. They've been making wine here in giant clay jars buried underground for thousands of years.
She twines her spines up slowly towards the boiling sun, and when I touched her skin, my fingers ran with blood.
On the way, I stopped at Peace by Manja Parashvili. Built in the 70s, this concrete monument depicts a winged female figure with open hands hovering over a mountain plateau. Both abstract and symbolic, it reflects a Soviet era call for peace and unity through bold geometric forms.
T'étais pas un chat? Bah oui.
That's where I met a horse that made me feel a little bit self-conscious, because as soon as he caught my scent on my hand, it just bolted away. I didn't really know how to take this.
Bah oui, le chat. Bah oui.
Luckily, I had better luck a few seconds later when I heard a little meow.
No, it's playing with my boots. Yeah.
I then kept moving towards Signagi. It's an old town perched on a ridge overlooking the valley. They call it the City of Love, but the real draw is the massive 18th century wall that circles the place. It's got 23 towers and stretches for miles. The sun was already going down, so I decided to order food here anyway and watch the sunset. I ended up with a dish called shkmeruli. It's basically crispy chicken drowned in a massive amount of garlic and milk. When the fats of a chicken skin mix with hot cream and all that garlic, it gets this thick, rich consistency that tastes a little bit like warm mayonnaise.
Such a lonely day, and it's mine, the most loneliest day of my life. Such a lonely day, should be bad. It's a day that I can't stand, the most loneliest day of my life.
The next day I was back on my route to Kvareli, and I first stopped at the Kvareli Wine Cave. The Kvareli Wine Cave is one of the most unique landmarks in the Karachi wine region. It's not just a cellar, it's a massive engineering feat carved directly into the rock of the Caucasus Mountains. One of the most surprising things about the cave is that it wasn't originally built for wine. The construction began in the late 50s. The tunnels were originally intended to be a secret military facility or a massive bomb shelter during the Cold War. In '62, the Soviet government realized the tunnels had a perfect, stable natural temperature between 12 and 14 degrees and a humidity of 70% all year round. Today, the total length of the tunnel system is nearly 8 kilometers. And while millions of liters were stored here in the Soviet era, today it houses over 26,000 bottles of premium wine aging in perfect natural conditions. So I finished up the morning and pushed on towards the city of Kvareli, pulling over for lunch at a spot right near a massive winery. I wasn't really sure about what to order, so I asked two guys at the next table for their advice. They ended up picking for me a local soup and a hot pot of lobio. It's this thick, slow-cooked bean stew served in a traditional clay pot, loaded with onion, garlic, cilantro and walnuts. It's got that heavy cassoulet vibe usually served with a side of mshati, which is a dense Georgian cornbread. And of course, just like in Turkey,
Qu'est-ce que tu veux, toi?
it didn't take long for our local cats to show up.
Bon, non mais oh.
Turns out, one of the guys who helped me pick the food was actually the master winemaker of a winery next door. So before I even finished my meal, he'd already called the visitor center and booked me a full tour and a wine tasting, all free of charge. So I finished my lunch and headed into the winery. In this part of Georgia, they don't use stainless steel tanks or oak barrels like in Europe. Everything happens in a kfefri, these massive lemon-shaped clay jars that are buried completely underground. The process is pretty simple. First, they crush the grapes, skin, juice and sometimes even the steam and seeds, and dump the whole thing straight into the jar. This mixture of skins and stalks is what Georgian calls the mother of the wine. Unlike Western winemaking, where the skin are often removed quickly, here they stay in the jar for months. This is what gives Georgian white wine its deep amber colors and those heavy tea-like tannins. Because the jar is buried, the ground acts as a natural thermostat, keeping the wine at a constant cool temperature while it ferments and ages. The shape of the jars is the real secret. Because it's pointed at the bottom, all the sediment naturally settle at the very tip, leaving the wine clear and pure above it. No chemicals, no filtering, just gravity and time doing the work.
After 3 weeks of fermentation, we separate grapes and wine.
Yeah.
We just take out grapes to make cha-cha from
Okay.
them.
Cha-cha.
Nothing is wasted.
Yeah,
And
nothing is
grape juice will be kept inside for 6 months.
Okay, so like all the reject from this, like the dried stuff, you make cha-cha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So,
After the fermentation in the jar, the process doesn't just stop here. For some of the wines, they pump the liquid out of a clay jar and move it into massive stainless steel tanks. This is where the wine settles and clarifies furthermore before it's bottled. Then they took me into the private cellar. It's this long, dim tunnel lined with thousands of bottles and some oak barrels. Turns out wealthy clients and collectors from all over the world buy their wine in bulk here. The winery keeps it for them, aging it in perfect conditions until the owner decides it's ready to be shipped. Some of these bottles look like they've been sitting here for decades, covered in a thick layer of dust. I even got a backstage pass into the laboratories. They've got technicians in white coats testing every batch for acidity, sugar levels and alcohol content. Finally, after seeing the whole path, from the dirt to the lab, it was time for the tasting.
And was kept there for 6 months. Vintage is 2021. Complex. It's more rich in flavors as well.
okay.
It's semi-sweet wine from Sakura grape.
Very different, but really like this one.
By the time I finished that lunch and those wine glasses, I was properly full. But I couldn't leave the area without one last stop at Nécrécy. This ancient monastery complex, perched high up on a hill overlooking the Alatsani Valley, is one of the most atmospheric spots in Georgia. Back in the day, it was a major cultural hub, but now it's just this peaceful viewpoint where you can see the old wine region spread out below you. It was the perfect place to clear my head before the next big mission, the Russian border. So I turned the bike north and headed towards the mountains in order to go through the Russian border. The border crossing itself was a total grind. I spent 2 solid hours sitting around, moving from one window to the other, getting various papers stamped and checked, but luckily everything went smoothly in the end. And that's actually where I met Benoit. Benoit is a fellow Frenchman who was crossing on a bike. We hit off immediately, and since we're both heading in the same way, we decided to team up. It turned out a very good choice because we ended up crossing the whole Russia together.
Спасибо. Пиво. Ouais, on va venir et tout, ouais, tu parles.